Welcome to With Love, The Chambers.
Where life, laughter, and lasting lessons meet.
We're The Chambers, a husband and wife navigating faith, family, and everything in between.
Here we share real stories, heartfelt conversations, and a whole lot of love. Because life isn't perfect, but God's grace sure is.
So pull up a seat, grab a cup of coffee, or go ahead and sip that tea, and join us for honest talks, laughs, and the wisdom we're learning along the way. This is With Love, The Chambers. Welcome to another With Love Wednesday. I am Jamila Chambers here with my husband and co-host Rufus Chambers, and we are so excited to welcome you to another With Love, The Chambers episode.
What's going on? What's going on, y'all?
I'm telling you what, and before we get started, as always, we'd love to give shout outs to everyone that has been listening, viewing, supporting, sending notes, sending comments, questions. We just so appreciate your support.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, we have got some momentum happening, and we are celebrating some podcast episode download milestones.
Let's get into it.
So I think as of this recording, we are over 3,000 podcast downloads. So we just want to say thank you to all of those who have been supporting the With Love, the Chambers podcast. We're so excited for those who are in Los Angeles and California, in the United States, and even some of the followers that are following and listening from different parts of the world. We say thank you. And as always, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Help us get the word out and break into some of this algorithm mystery.
Wow.
We have not figured out the algorithm hustle yet, but we do know that the more of you that listen and engage and view, the more we can get in front of more people. So we just want to say thank you. Also want to say thank you to all of the amazing people that make this podcast happen.
Yes.
We have some brilliant people that are supporting us behind the scenes. So we just want to say thank you to Mr. Anthony Lowe, who handles all of our post-production, be it video, be it audio, be it intros, be it outros. He is such a gifted person in so many different subject matter expertise, and Anthony Lowe has been on this journey with us for so many years.
Over a decade.
Yeah, well over a decade. So we thank you, sir. We would like to also thank the amazing Raven, who is our social media manager. She is responsible for all of the social media content that you guys see on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, and even YouTube. So I want to shout her out. She does an amazing job. And she is so pivotal in helping us widen our reach. And then we also want to shout out our friends at the Podhead Studios in downtown Los Angeles. Jose and that team, they do an amazing job. Whenever you see us do video podcast episodes, that is the team that is responsible for doing the content capture of that amazing footage. They have a brilliant studio that we have just truly enjoyed recording at. And, so this is an audio episode, but we'll be back down there very, very soon. So we just wanted to thank all of those. And, of course, got to shout out my boy Mike Calhoun, who has helped us with some of the graphic design.
Also been helping us over a decade.
Yeah. We've been rolling with Mike for a number of years. He's been responsible for a lot of our branding, some of our logos, some of our graphic designs that you all see. And then there's some other folks that we've enlisted.
It's hard to start naming because we get in trouble.
People that will leave nameless.
We get in trouble for forgetting. So.
Exactly. But just want to thank and shout out the amazing team that's supporting us. And Jamila, I know you want to shout out some other folks that are kind of indirectly responsible for the content that we're about to shoot right now, right?
I do want to shout out. So we're going to get into a conversation today about doubt. And that conversation was by and large spawned by us spending time last week in New York City with our youngest daughter, Willow, and also visiting our older daughter, Winter, who is there interning. And part of that trip was spending time going to see a wonderful play called Hadestown. And we had the opportunity to see that play and participate with that because of Support Black Theater Los Angeles. Support Black Theater Los Angeles is a nonprofit organization. They do amazing work in the art and theater space here in LA. And part of what they do is host the August Wilson New Voices competition.
That's right.
This year, that competition had a variety of students from all over Los Angeles participate, one of which was our very own Willow Corinne.
Come on.
And because Willow Corinne and another young lady were able to win awards as a part of that competition. So there was one young lady that won first place.
We'll give them a standing ovation for their brilliant performances.
Why did he just press the applause button out of nowhere? Somebody take the applause button from
Be grateful that I picked the right button.
Exactly.
Right? I had to go into my short-term memory, which is challenged. So be grateful that I pressed the right button. So
shout out to the young lady that won first place. Willow won second place, and a part of that prize and award was a trip for the first and second place winners, along with the chaperone, to go to New York to see a Broadway play. And so I definitely want to get into that experience. It's driving the conversation today, but I wanted to do that by way of shouting out Support Black Theater Los Angeles, the Sister Sophina Brown, who led up that effort along with an amazing team that not only worked with these young artists in identifying them, but provided mentorship and guidance. And they had to participate by doing monologues from August Wilson's work, which was not an easy feat and was a great thing for high schoolers to get exposed to. So it was just a wonderful experience. They got the opportunity to participate, be judged by working actors and given feedback by working actors. I mean, it was just over the top.
In the audience, for sure.
And amazing people in the audience.
Like,
so it was an over the top experience. So thank you to Sophina. Thank you to Support Black Theater Los Angeles. And let's get into today's topic. So we're in New York City. We get the opportunity and privilege of seeing Hadestown with Willow and with the other young lady, like I mentioned, that were the awardees. And really, it was such a powerful work, a powerful play. But what struck me from that conversation was, or that particular piece of art, that work, was that the impetus was that the protagonist was having an interaction with Hades, the god of the underworld. So this is some Greek mythology stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're super saved, just come back. We ain't lost our Jesus, but if
it
super,
had some messages.
Yeah,
now.
But if you're super saved, we're using these terms that were used in the play. But the protagonist was interacting with Hades, the god of the underworld, and he was doing so because he wanted to get his love back. We're not going to spend time talking about how the woman he loved made a contract with Hades.
That's heavy.
Out of desperation.
That's a whole message.
That's a whole nother message. Out of desperation. But the protagonist goes and says, "Hey, I want to get the love of my life back." And the devil himself says, "You know what? I am not going to make life hard for you. I could, send other imps. There's there's characters there called the Fates, who spoke doubt over this particular protagonist. And there's a whole bunch of things that Hades said he could do, but he said, you know what? I'm not going to do anything, because man by nature, within their own mind, will start to let doubt and fear and unbelief come in. So you know what I'm going to tell you, protagonist? I'm going to tell you, if you are able to just walk forward on your path, undeterred, unhindered, if you will continue to keep your eyes focused on what is in front of you, when you reach without looking back, that was the thing. Without looking back.
That was heavy.
Keep your eye on your goal. Keep your eye on your path without looking back. Once you arrive at your goal, everything you want, including the love of your life, and there were all these other elements to freeing other people. It was so deep, right? Him getting to his path also reunited him with the love of his life, but also would have freed other people and had a connection to other people.
Absolutely.
So there's so much with that. But if you keep your eye focused on where you're going, you look forward straight ahead without turning back, everything that you asked for will be yours. The protagonist gets steps away from that which he wanted and desired, was really what was in front of him, and at the last minute turns around and looks back and therefore forfeits everything that he desired to have. And I was struck by so many things in that play, and that's the power of art, that's the power of storytelling, that's the power of the theater. And I'm so grateful we have a theater kid that's exposed us to all of these things. I don't think you and I would have done it on our own.
I know I wouldn't have been there. Praise the
You
Lord.
did good, babe. You did good.
Praise his holy name.
Right. But shout out to all the parents that are supporting everything. We're like, thank God you chose the theater, because we had a track kid first and we were out on the track all day. And then some of you were traveling basketball parents, and some of you were, so whatever your kid is into, I'm grateful it's the theater and we get to sit down and be in the air conditioning for a couple of hours. But because of the power of storytelling in this way, we were able to extract this whole conversation about doubt, and how the enemy said, you know what? I'm not even going to create a stumbling block for them. I'm going to, or for the protagonist, I'm relating it to us. I'm not going to create a stumbling block. I'm going to let them trip themselves up. And so I wanted to have this conversation with you today about doubt, about fear, and about unbelief, and how doubt and fear and unbelief stops us from not only obtaining the things and the desires of our own heart, but in putting ourselves in position from a kingdom perspective to have the impact on our families, our communities, organizations, nations around us. And we end up forfeiting the whole thing because of what's going on in our own mind. What say you, Dr. Chambers, as a first response?
No, I mean, I feel like, you've said so much right there, and I feel like you've set the table, for how this play provided so many life lessons and discussion points, right, that we can kind of dive into. And, just reimagining the play and that scene, in which, Hades, or we could say the enemy for the sake of this conversation, was clearly aware at the internal strength and weakness of said subject.
Yes.
Where the protagonist understood, the frailties of the subject and let it play itself out. And if we would even go a step further, the protagonist, the enemy was not overly concerned as far as in the play as to whether the protagonist would win or lose. That was another thing that was very interesting.
Yes.
The enemy was not solely connected to the outcome. And sometimes I think in our lives, especially people of faith, sometimes, people within a church context, we get really locked in, as far as I think sometimes we overreach or over-index on over-spiritualizing some things. Mm-hmm. It was the devil or it was the enemy. And sometimes in the case of this play, it was the enemy knowing your frailties, but you just played them out in real time.
Yes.
And that's what we saw. And we think about the power of doubt. It can be very subtle. It could be very cunning. It can be very passive until the right moment. And that's what we saw in the play. And you set it up perfectly, because the doubt manifested at a key time, in which he had almost made it to the promise. But I would beg to differ, and as we've seen in our own lives and some of our own lived experiences, the manifestation of doubt in the play, it didn't begin at the end of the protagonist's journey. Mm-hmm. It started before that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And even as, we're having this conversation, I'm thinking about, one of my favorite Bible stories is in the book of Nehemiah, where the walls had to be rebuilt. Mm-hmm. And when we study the characters of Sanballat and Tobias, we could creatively say that they represented doubt.
Yes.
And they emerged as soon as they heard of this plot and this story. And as you study that passage, you'll see doubt begin to measure and calculate and begin to plant seeds of unbelief in that story. And I mean, we're talking about, this play, so we don't have to get too deep into it. But just for the sake of giggles here, in Nehemiah, the 4th chapter, in the first verse, it says, "Now when Sanballat heard that we were building the wall, he was angry and greatly enraged, and he mocked the Jews. He said in the presence of his associates and the army of Samaria, 'What are these feeble Jews doing? Will they restore things? Will they sacrifice? Will they finish it in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of rubbish and burned ones at that?'" And just thinking about the play, I think we have to do a self-inventory on the doubt that lives in our lives. And we have to realize that the doubt that lives in our lives, if you give doubt too much of a front seat in your proverbial vehicle, they will grab the steering wheel. Mm-hmm. Doubt will grab the steering wheel of your life and shortcut your destination, shortcut your journey. You know what I mean? And that's something that we have to think about. And, getting back to the play, I also think that because life does present these crescendo moments.
Yes.
In the play, the crescendo moment was the protagonist having a confrontation with Hades.
Yes.
That was a moment. Mm-hmm. That was a prophet Elijah, prophets of Baal moment, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to prepare for these moments. You follow me? We have to be prepared. We have to be girded up, because when the moment presents itself, you will have the opportunity for success, but we have to prepare by what? Shoring up our weaknesses prior to the crescendo moment. And in this area of doubt, in this area of unbelief, in this area of skepticism, we have to prepare. We have to do an inventory on our self-talk, or that chat box that runs in your, watch this, subconscious and your conscience.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We always quote, that Bible verse where it says, out of the meditation of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? And that is so appropriate for this conversation. If doubt is the meditation of your heart, it can grab the steering wheel. And I'm going to pause there because I know I've said a whole lot, right? But I hope that y'all listeners are listening, because your relationship with doubt can dictate the future trajectory, not only of your life, but the lives of those that are connected to you. We're just not having a podcast. We're talking about Bible. We're talking about life. We're talking about future. We're talking about legacy. We're talking about destiny when we talk about doubt. Do you believe in your knower and in your heart of hearts that you can complete your life assignment?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Do you believe that you can? Do you believe that you deserve the completion of your life assignment? Do you, feel like you've got the goods to do it? See, everything I just said right there has to go through the filter and the lens of your soul, of your mind, of your belief system. And if doubt is all up in that filter, you're going to struggle.
Wow. A bit speechless. I am a bit speechless because that doubt, fear, unbelief, making a mockery. How do we deal with the Sam ballots in our own minds? And how do we press through them? And I think I'm trying to package it. The reason why I'm stuttering is a couple things. Number one, you had to press me to pick up this microphone again after.
Have mercy.
Let's just be 100% transparent.
Have mercy.
After, I don't know how long it was.
Yeah. We can probably look.
You're going to look it up and correct me. Well over 5 or 6 years. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
Well over 5 or 6 years to pick up this microphone again, because what? Fear, doubt, unbelief had rested itself in the heart of the dream releaser.
The defibrillator.
In the heart of even somebody like me that for years and years and years talked to people about
all day long,
like for a living, legit,
all day long,
about creating a life without limits.
That's right.
And I was trying to go back, and then this is why it was striking me so much in the heart, because I was trying to go back and assess for myself when that moment happened for me. What was the series of circumstances? Because it wasn't just the one thing. It was a series of circumstances.
A series.
That our bishop says it like this, ships only sink when the water gets in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you in any type of vessel, large or small, that is designed to float upon water, it only sinks when the water is allowed to get in.
Yeah.
And so with the vessel of my own life, I'm trying to go back and recall what were some of the things that were the water that represented the water to sink my own boat. And it was everything from the tragedy of my brother passing to when we approached this podcast this time, and I said, I'm going to open my mouth again. I said, I'm not tied to the outcome of this. One of the things that was difficult for me the first time was worrying about who was listening, who was watching, whether or not it was gonna pop or whether or not it was gonna. And shout out to the 3,000 people that have already downloaded, and shout out to those that will download from here going forward. But I was tied to that instead of being tied to the message. And there's all the reasons for it. Can we monetize it? Is it going to be cost effective for us to continue to do it? Is it, there was all the things, but it was less about the assignment and more about the outcome. It was the pressures of life, growing children, and am I taking time and resources away from them to focus on this thing over here? Should my focus be someplace else? Am I getting too distracted with my own thing and my own stuff? And I'm trying to think if there was something else. I think those are the major things. And then it became, and it was a lot of the challenge from you over the course of the end of last year and the beginning of this year. It then became, but do you get to shut your mouth? God gave it to you. He hasn't changed his mind about what he designed for you to do. He knew all of those things and circumstances were going to happen. So do you get to be like a toddler and sit on your hands? And cross your hands across your chest and all of those things. Do you get to do that? You don't even see Rufus' face right now. He like, Amen. But do you get to do that? And so I'm talking about that. And as you're talking about all those things, even within my own life, there was nothing external that shut that down. It was me. It was all of the things, right? And it's challenging to do this. It's difficult to put something out every week and, to do all the things and keep life going and all that. It's not easy.
That's right.
But I also know at this stage in my life that God will give me a grace to do.
Absolutely.
Whatever he needs me to do. And God will give you a grace to do whatever he needs you to do. So as we're talking about that moment that gets somebody off track, like I heard from God, and I heard from God so clearly. And I sat out on my path, and I got my backpack and my lunch pail and my water bottle, and and I'm on my path. I'm running my race. I'm on my course. And then the stuff, life, the things, whatever that is, and whatever the divorce, the bankruptcy, we can all fill in the blank with what those things have been and are, and they are all very real things. But how do we stay on that path and not turn away when life gets real? Because that's when it just gets real, Rufus.
Yeah, it does. And I think that this is me, right? I'm going to just, talk from what I think, right? This is our podcast. We could just talk. So
that's what we're here to do.
But I think sometimes when we think about the power of God, again, in our faith, especially in our Pentecostal charismatic faith, right? We think of power being seen in some great display, some great triumph that can be, we be looking for them moments. But when it comes to private struggle, sometimes we're not looking for the power of God in those moments because they're private.
Yes.
They're vulnerable. There's no likes there.
Yes.
So I think, and watch this, listeners, when you're having a conversation with doubt, you need the power of God. Mm-hmm. But when you're having a conversation with doubt, nobody's usually looking. Though that is usually happening in the private
Yes.
Intimate places of your life. When you're just sitting there riding in the car, or you could be sitting on the couch.
Yes.
You can just be allowing thoughts to rummage through your mind. And it's in those conversations with doubt when you need power, you need strength. We're reminded in Ephesians 6 chapter where it says, be strong in the Lord and in the power of your might. What I'm encouraging us to do is look for his power in those private moments. We think about when the Lord Jesus, after he had been baptized, and the Spirit of God drove him into the wilderness to fast and pray. Mm-hmm. We know the Lord Jesus had a literal conversation with the enemy, but you got to think about part of the tool in the hands of the enemy in that conversation was doubt. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to just dig in on this doubt thing, right? And what we saw is the Lord Jesus, even though he had been buffeting his flesh, he was not physically strong. He still was strong in God. And he was able to ward off doubt by way of the word of God. You know, and I think that's a word for somebody. Even the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians, the 12th chapter. And I don't know, I just, feel like teaching a bit up in here.
Please
2
do.
Corinthians 12 in verse 9, the Apostle Paul is talking about this thorn in his flesh, which he asked the Lord to remove 3 times. Mm-hmm. In verse 9, it says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for power, watch this, is made perfect in weakness.
Yes.
So I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses. Watch this, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. So that's what I'm saying, y'all. We got to invite his power into this conversation with doubt. Because again, when we're tempted to doubt, or when we're tempted, watch this, to hand the wheel of the car over to doubt, we got to look for his power. And I believe that power will be a mental, emotional, spiritual resistance to ward off doubt. So that we can say, okay, doubt, you're saying X, but this is what God has said through his word. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's key, right? Because again, sometimes these crescendo moments, these standoffs are in the privacy of your own home.
Yes.
It's in a thought. It's in a conversation. It's in a simple decision to say, I'm going to carry on.
Yes.
Sometimes that is the victory. That is the arms. That is the Rocky moment, right? Rocky, when he finished running up those steps in Philadelphia, and he had on his gray sweatsuit, and he swung his arms up in the air. Sometimes that victory moment is not a crowd that's jogging with you, but it's just you saying, I'm going to carry on. I'm going to press on. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to cave in. I'm not going to succumb to my fears, my insecurities, my doubt. I'm going to continue to just say yes. I'm going to just put one step in front of the other. I don't know what step is in front of me, but I'm just going to go further.
Yes.
And sometimes I feel like that's how we can better engage with doubt. You know what I mean? And we go back to the play. And we just gonna, give away some of the play because a lot of y'all not gonna see it.
We giving away a lot of the play.
But again, in that moment in the play, at least how the actors, personified that moment on the stage was, it seems like he was almost there, but he just, I think, drifted and lost sight of not only where he was, but where she was.
Yes.
And he just got turned around in a moment. And then in turning around in a moment, he looked back and there she was. And it was game over for her. You know what I mean? So I think even using that play, there's times in these battles that when we lose our way, we have to be able to pause and recollect ourselves, to say, let me get myself together.
Yes.
We mentioned Elijah after his crescendo moment,
Yes.
right? Jezebel issued a threat on his life and the guy got shook. He went from calling fire down from heaven,
literally,
and had the Rocky moment, from the movie Rocky, to running for his life. Mm-hmm. And again, I feel like part of that, again, using my imagination, I think part of him running for his life was rooted in fear and doubt. Mm-hmm. I know I just called heaven fire down, but maybe my time is up. Maybe Jezebel is badder than me, or mm-hmm. badder than my God. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There had to be some driving motivation for him to say, I'm going to hit the retreat button after having this,
such a victory.
God has manifested his power. And that's something that, in our life coaching and in some of our pastoral counseling, Jamila, we need to alert people of the attacks after victory.
Come on.
Because sometimes after you experience a victory, you will be ready to celebrate and you will relax. Mm-hmm. You will relax yourself. And in the minutes of that relaxation, there can be a timed attack, mm-hmm. and you can get snuffed out because you've let your guard down. And sometimes, we know ministers of the gospel, they'll talk about, after the great move
sure.
of God, how some of them will retreat.
Yes.
To let me go retreat and get myself together.
Yes.
Because I'm wide open right now.
Yes.
Some people think
and vulnerable.
Some people mm-hmm. think that some ministers are being arrogant or haughty when
yes.
they, I'm not going to stand, at the altar after service because I think I'm all that. No, some need to go and put their, put their vestments on.
Yes.
Their shield of faith
yes.
back on, because again, sometimes when people allow themselves to be used of God, you open yourself up tremendously.
Yes.
And there's times when you need to kind of shut it down to get yourself together. And we've seen that play itself
yes.
out in real time where we say, oh, Lord, here come such and such that's trying to capitalize on the man or woman of God who is now open and vulnerable. Mm-hmm. But, that play had a lot of life lessons, but I think, again, you've tapped into the need for us to lean in to us being strong against doubt.
Yes.
Let's just be completely practical. And that's a beautiful thing about these podcasts. We don't have to have a cute sermon.
Yes.
We can just talk straight.
Mm-hmm.
Be on guard against doubt. Period.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We ain't gotta.
Yes.
We don't need a poem and a soliloquy and.
Well. What I need to make sure I put the listeners up on game on is Rufus is a Rocky fan. Okay.
Oh, Rocky.
So one thing you need to do when he broke down Rocky with the gray sweatsuit, I said,
the gray sweatsuit and the beanie cocked to the side. Come on, somebody.
I said, sir, the level of detail around.
Come on, somebody. Come on.
I just know the raised arms.
I think he had some Chuck Taylors on. I may have to go. You done tested my gangster, but I think he was running in some Chucks too.
You know what?
It's
know
true.
what? It's two things I want to illustrate before we land the plane today. One, I want to, and this is going back, being so reflective of my own, struggles with doubt and fear and unbelief. What I want to have the listeners make sure they guard themselves against. He had on some Chuck Taylors.
Chucks.
You know he went and looked up the picture.
Chucks. Shucks.
I can't even get through my sentence because he went to
Who
Google.
was there? Who was there with him?
Nobody.
Come on.
You know what?
Come on now. Come on now. Come on now.
We're going to have to make sure they drop that picture
Come on.
somewhere in there.
Yeah. Maybe we'll use that for the thumbnail or something.
There we go. Raven, Edlo, we shouted y'all out before. We're going to have to have him get on it. He is literally showing me this picture right now because that's how his mind works. So there you go. Gray sweatsuit, beanie, Chuck Taylors.
There it is.
With no one there with these raised
That would be
arms.
a cold episode title. Folks would get that. That's too personal.
The Rocky fans would get it. The Rocky fans would get it.
Yeah.
But one of the things I want to make sure that our listeners are aware of, and this is just coming to me as I'm reflecting on my own challenges and struggles with doubt and fear and unbelief, is that it presents itself so subtly sometimes in the way of practicality.
Yeah.
Right?
Like it's wisdom.
If you're not careful.
False wisdom. Now that's a whole thing.
If you're not careful. So it can whisper like, you know what? I'm not going to go back to school right now because I got my kids in school. That don't make no sense. Or I'm not going to start my business right now because I have to do some more research and, raise this capital and do whatever. And for me, it was like, I'm not going to keep going with the Dream Studio and all this. It's costing so much money and it hasn't been monetized and, it's all of that. So I am reflecting on how not only did doubt and fear and unbelief get presented, but the way it got presented to me, it didn't come across and introduce itself as doubt, fear, and unbelief. It introduced itself as practicality. As wisdom. As just counting the cost. It presented itself as anything other than me just doing what God said do.
That's right.
As I boil it down.
That's right. Shimon.
And where I want us to end.
All right.
Is at the very end of that play. Mm-hmm. The protagonist turns around and the very thing that he was believing for and everything attached to that dissipates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You let doubt, you let fear, you let unbelief kick in, and it dissipates. And the play ends by us starting over from the beginning again.
Sure did.
The play ends by saying that doubt, that fear, that unbelief can present a cycle.
That's right. A cycle.
Where you will start again and will still be faced with the ultimate decision.
Absolutely.
To do what God said do. Mm-hmm. Unapologetically.
That's right.
On the path. Stay on the trail. Or run the risk of starting all over again.
That's right.
By letting that doubt, that fear, that unbelief get you off track. I was struck by saying not only did the protagonist not be able to walk into fully that which they desired after this big crescendo moment of standoff with Hades, and I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna say what I believe.
Wife was pulling for him and all that.
Yeah, the wife pulling for him, the community pulling for everything. Right? There's so many things to unpack. Everybody's pulling for you. Doubt, fear, unbelief kicks in. I lose everything and I start over from square one. And you know what? I start over without the wisdom, without the knowledge,
that's true.
Without the tools in my toolbox to break the cycle.
Yeah, that song.
And I start over from square one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, and I threw it out there, and I want to say it again. Very much a part of, and Rufus and I have so many reasons why we're doing this podcast, and so many reasons why it's impactful, and so many reasons why we're doing it together versus doing things separately. There's so many things to unpack, but one big part for me was that for many years, I decided I'm going to shut my mouth.
Ooh, Lord. And y'all, if y'all know Jamila,
do you know how
the
hard
shutting
that is?
of the mouth
Do
does
you know how
not really
difficult that is?
compute. I'm surprised that's not a computation.
Put it this way. I decided I was going to shut my mouth in this form. He wish I would shut my mouth just in general.
That's not in your algebraic
that wasn't in the equation.
DNA.
You like when you do that part though. I should be clear. In this form. In this way, okay. Right? In this
help the people.
Help the people. No, I'm helping you because people understood. The people understood. You was like, "What? You shut your mouth? When that happened?"
Yeah, glory.
In this form. In this way.
Defibrillator.
I had made the decision that I am gonna no longer participate.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna shut my mouth. And I'm not gonna let this mic be hot anymore. Right. And a very big part of it, and you heard me kind of throw that out there, is that when we got to this space to do this with love, peace, and we got to this space and we we recorded the very first episode of this podcast, episode 1, while we were out and away together on the weekend, and you know what, we were sitting on the water, and it was a beautiful day, and all that stuff, and I just said, I'm not tied to the outcome.
That's right.
Anymore.
That's right.
This is about obedience. This is not about 3,000 people downloading. Thank you. This is not about the tens of thousands that will download in the future. Thank you in advance, God.
We receive.
Yes. But it's not about that. It's about the obedience. And so I wanted to pause and share with the listeners that to me is a key to get out of that cycle of fear, of doubt, of unbelief.
Yeah. Because
when you're doing what God says to do,
come on now,
when He says to do it,
build the wall,
how He says to do it, we got to be like Nehemiah, have our sword in our hand, because
a hammer and a sword,
your
building tool and your weapon.
That part, because it's not that the doubt and the fear and the unbelief don't still come, but part of the part that was freeing for me is because I said, whether it's 1,000, 10,000, or 1,000,000, I'm just doing what God said do.
That's right.
And let Him be tied to the outcome in whatever way gives Him glory. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with anything other than my willingness to be a vessel, so that we don't end up like our protagonists in Hadestown, losing it all, having the community that was attached to it not be able to walk into it as well, and then starting over from the beginning.
Come on.
Over again.
Come on. Rich discussion. Thank you, Jamila, for setting the table, with this episode. When I left the play, I wasn't thinking about all this, but I'm glad you leaned in.
You know I be thinking about stuff.
Yeah. You was in the bag. You was in the bag. So thank you, listeners, to tuning in to this episode. Please do your part. Hit the like button, hit the share button, drop a comment, inbox us, message us, contact us, text or email, or send this episode to somebody you believe needs to hear this message or this discussion about doubt. You'd be amazed to know how many people are plotting their exit, are plotting their quit, plotting their let me get off the freeway strategy. And we believe that this discussion is going to help somebody. Please know that we will be back again on the same channel, same place, with another episode here real soon. We thank you all for being on the journey, and we are going to sign off from the With Love, the Chambers podcast. God bless.
This episode of With Love the Chambers is brought to you by the Vision Engineering Collective, where purpose meets precision. Whether you're launching a bold initiative, scaling your organization, or navigating complex projects, their team brings over 25 years of expertise in project management, strategic planning, and vision execution across sectors like tech, healthcare, education, and nonprofit. Ready to turn your vision into reality? Visit www.thevcollective.info to learn more.
That's a wrap for today's episode of With Love the Chambers.
We hope you laughed, learned, and felt encouraged along the way.
If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs a little love and wisdom today.
You can also connect with us online on all social media platforms at Rufus Chambers Online and at Jamila Chambers. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time,
keep living, keep laughing, and keep learning with Love the Chambers.